right, babies. It's that time again. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Today is payday, so that's the day I get a deli sandwich. Oh! And I turn it into 2 meals because it's hefty. Definitely not something you want to eat all at once. It's considerably a large chunk of calories. We're in Revelation 18. And as much as I love the idea of us being seated with Christ in heavenly places, and participating in the creation of goodness in the world, let's put it that way. I'm really not a big fan of all the judgment images and the bowls of judgment and various depictions of torture, etc. I really feel like that's man's need to have a God that has its back. I've been mistreated, so in the end, all the evildoers will get what's coming to them, so to speak. Now, I think that's true in the sense of the spiritual forces. So, as much as people, look at Satan as being also a fabrication of man's imagination, I think there's enough evidence in the world that there is clearly an evil presence that is working against the goodness of God. And, I could go on and on depicting it, but if I do, it only gives attention to it. And it's better to ignore it and just be holy. Which is pretty much my message for the day. Don't worry about any of this. Just be holy. Yeah, so we could just end there. So yeah, you have, the dark spiritual forces of the universe that have been working against God yes, those forces will be destroyed. In fact, they are being destroyed even as we speak. Because when we speak life, we speak joy, we speak victory, and when we move in the power of those words and that revelation, evil is trampled underneath our feet, so to speak. So we're already in sort of a, ever since Jesus's victory over death, we've been in a constant procession towards the end of exalting beauty, love, joy, peace, faith, goodness, as we trample underfoot destruction, selfishness, greed, jealousy, etc. So, yeah. So in that sense, I think the images are useful in that God is using us as tools of judgment, if you want to use that term, in the world now, so that people have evidence of what it looks like when somebody is actually living a victorious life against these evil forces. Yeah, that's our job. And if you don't think of it as your job, think of it as your job and work on that, because that's where you're going to find your joy and your meaning and your creativity. It's going to be in the active duty of serving God. Yeah, baby. This road is being torn up, so there's all kinds of obstacles in the way here. Yes, and having said that, be aware of those. Because if you're not, you are likely to incur some unnecessary damage. Yeah, so that's about it. I don't really want to say anything more about that. This is Revelation 18. It's using the image of Babylon as the force that God will ultimately bring to nothing. But I do want to say, I was listening to something yesterday by this guy online, YouTube channel. His name's Troy Black. I highly recommend this guy. He's tuned into the Lord in a big way. I don't agree with everything he says, but for the most part, he's right on the money, and a real sweet person. But he's kind of getting into somewhat of a trap, because, and this is where he and I don't see eye to eye, because he's so locked into the written word of God in the Bible and seeing as the Bible as being inerrant. He really, it's like anything that's said in there must mean something. So he's trying to piece it together and put it together with Old Testament stuff and New Testament, and it just becomes a real, I think, a distraction. Now, to his credit, he's not being definitive about his own interpretation, because he's open to different interpretations and he's not really sure where to land. But I think the safe place to land is when you're trying to piece together things either that are said prophetically in the Old Testament, the New Testament, or you hear prophets talk about end times events and what is to occur and the ultimate judgment, all these kind of things. That's why I said earlier, just be holy. And when I say just be holy, I mean just focus on what you know is good. Like I said, faith, love, joy, peace, serving others, being available for others' benefit. This is what we're called to. And when you focus on it, God is able to indwell in you in such a way and release himself in you in such a way that you're living a holy life. And when you're living a holy life, it doesn't matter about putting all these pieces together, because you're focused on what really matters. And because you're focusing on what really matters, it puts you in a better position to be hearing and discerning when it is appropriate and it's time to piece together some of the mysteries of the world.